Hello and welcome. This is Andrew Schaefer. I'm so excited to share with you how to go plant-based without sacrificing taste. This is the thing that I wish I had when I started about 9 years ago. And you're going to have everything in a nice little package. It's going to tell you everything you need to know, all the resources you'll ever need, all the obstacles that I've faced and overcome, and groups that you can be a part of to help you on the journey. So let's get started. So let me open this little slideshow here. Okay, so you might not see my face. Don't worry, I'm still here. Okay, so how to go plant-based without sacrificing taste. How do we do it, right? Okay, so first let me just tell you I'm not a dietitian, I'm not an expert, so let me just read it. I want to make clear that I am not a registered dietitian or nutrition expert. While I've done research and gathered information on the benefits of a vegan lifestyle, it's crucial to recognize that individual dietary needs vary. Before making any significant changes to your diet, especially if you have pre-existing health conditions, I strongly recommend consulting with a qualified health professional or a registered dietitian. And I have some, by the way, that I will share with you. They can provide personalized advice tailored to your specific needs and ensure that you are making choices that align with your overall health and well-being. My goal today is to share information and inspire, but please consider seeking professional guidance for personalized dietary advice. All right, with that out of the way, so how did I become? So I'm a vegan, by the way, but I didn't, wasn't born vegan. So this is kind of my journey. Let me get rid of this thing. All right. So how did it happen? I went to college. I went to Santa Barbara City College. That was where I started. And I took a course in ethics, and we read this book, or at least parts of this book, called Vice and Virtue. And in it, there's a whole section that talks about sort of the environment and things about that nature. And there's a few articles, one by Peter Singer and another one by James Rachels, that convinced me to go vegetarian. So that was the beginning, and I think that was in 2007 or so. So quite a ways back. So then what happened? I went to Europe. I wanted to see the world, and that's my van over there that I bought. I bought that in Brighton, in the UK, and I'm there on the left with my dad. He's there seeing me off to this crazy adventure. So it was a lot of fun. And what happened along the way? Well, I met a guy who was vegan, and I noticed that he was not dead. So that was very encouraging to me. I thought, whoa, okay, well, I'm vegetarian, but this guy's vegan and he's still alive and he looks, healthy. So, maybe I could do this. And by the way, those burgers there, those are veggie burgers, right? So he was the one that helped me, kind of pushed me over into being vegan, because I knew I could do it. Just looking at him, I was like, okay, I can do this. So, but I wanted to be healthy about it, and I didn't really know what it entailed. I was a little bit afraid because you know it, I'm used to eating a certain way, and now I'm going to change that like by substantially. Not having eggs anymore, not no cheese, no milk. So I wanted to make sure that I was going to be healthy on this diet. So what did I do? I studied for 3 months. I was living in a van. I had savings, and I had all day, for all day, every day for 3 months. So I was just reading nutrition, and I was actually doing it in this very park that you see behind me in that picture. I would put my phone on this little nook of a tree and just stand there and read. And I actually kind of freaked a lady out that she had some kind of park ranger come over to me and ask if I was okay, because she just saw me staring at a tree for hours and thought I was crazy. But I'm not. Well, I'm a little crazy, but not that crazy. And I learned a lot. I thought I kind of knew everything, being a little, I don't know, arrogant or something. I thought I'd read like everything I could about nutrition in 3 months, right? When people spend their years of their life doing it. But then one of my buddies said, "Hey, have you read this guy named Dr. Greger?" I'm like, nah, but yeah, sure, I'll read it. I wasn't really expecting much, but it just like blew my mind. And that's when I found this guy. He just has so much content on nutrition and like plant-based eating is just out of control. It's like a whole Wikipedia of that. And this is the guy I follow most of the time. There's a few others who, have disagreements with him that I'll also follow just so I can, get a more balanced view of things. But I'd say for the most part, I usually go with this guy. Okay, so you might be wondering, I'm using these words like vegan, plant-based, vegetarian. What does it all mean? A vegan is someone that eats delicious plant food and nothing animal-based. So no eggs, no dairy, no cheese, no meat, no fish, no chicken, no beef, no clams, no honey. Some people kind of, oh, I'll eat honey too and be vegan. Um, but that's what they eat. A vegetarian, on the other hand, is pretty much a vegan, except they eat dairy. So they'll have milk, cheese, eggs. So they get to eat pizza, right? You can still have pizza, by the way, if you're vegan. But like with vegetarians, eat the traditional cheese on the pizza, right? Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So we'll continue. So here's an example of what a vegan would be eating, right? So lots of fruits, veggies, grains, legumes, and other things too, like fungi, mushrooms. Also, they're just not in this picture. Vegetarians, they'll eat the stuff on the left plus milk, eggs, cheese, dairy, that kind of stuff. So why do I do it? Well, I already mentioned at the beginning, there was sort of like a philosophical reason, but then the more I dug into nutrition, I found a very, very big reason. And this was actually concerning me as well because I had read stories of people who died of heart attacks at young ages, and for all appearances looked very healthy, which also scared me because I looked, I felt I was pretty healthy, but I'm seeing people die of heart attacks. So uh, maybe there's something I can do, right? So I learned that heart disease is actually the #1 killer. According to the Center for Disease Control, this is the first quote, heart disease is the leading cause of death for men, women, and people of most racial and ethnic groups in the United States. And about 695,000 people in the United States died from heart disease in 2021. So that's 1 in 5 people dead. That's a very high number. And I don't really want to be a part of that. I recognize that, you know, a vegan diet might not be the, silver bullet. I might still, die of heart disease, but I want the best chance, of preventing it, right? So I could still die in a car accident, even if I have a seatbelt, right? But I'm still going to wear a seatbelt. So what do cardiologists think increases the risk of heart disease? So saturated fats, here I'm just quoting the American Heart Association. Let me just skip to the bottom because this is a long quote. So I'll just say replacing foods that are high in saturated fat with healthier options can lower risk of heart disease. Okay, so they say saturated fat, lowering that can lower the risk of heart disease. So that's the American Heart Association, cardiologists, all right? It's not just some fringe group. Now, what does the USDA dietary food guidelines say? It says to seek to limit consumption of saturated fat. So limit foods and beverages higher in added sugars, saturated fat, and sodium, and limit alcoholic beverages. So the common thread is like limiting saturated fat. Now, what does that mean? That's kind of sort of jargon, Well, what has saturated fat? This stuff has saturated fat. Regular cheese, dairy. So these are the top sources of saturated fat for the US population. So cheese, dairy desserts, pizza, chicken, pastries, that's the grain-based desserts, that means pastries, sausage, franks, bacon, and ribs, reduced fat milk, and burgers. And I was actually kind of surprised to see like cheese and dairy at the top. So yeah, these have a lot of saturated fat. So what does that mean? So my conclusion, I think I'll eat less saturated fat, so avoiding that by going on a well-planned vegan diet that doesn't sacrifice taste, right? Like we want to enjoy life. Like I want to enjoy life. I want to eat tasty things. But I also don't want to die of heart disease if I can manage that, right? Okay, so now we kind of get an idea of the problem and what could probably help, eating less saturated fat. And doing that, that's going to be vegetables, things uh, are lower in saturated fat or just don't have saturated fat. But who do I listen to? Who do I go for information on how to do this? Well, this is who I go to. I go to nutrition scientists, registered dietitians, epidemiologists, masters slash PhDs in public health, like people who dedicate their lives to nutrition. That's who I go to. Yes, I do listen to some lay people on this stuff, but when push comes to shove, like I'm gonna give these people heavier, you know, weight in my decision making, right? Okay, so why do I choose these people instead of just sensational people or just people with have strong opinions but don't do nutrition research? Well, think of it this way: if my car gets wrecked, I would take it to a mechanic. I wouldn't take it to a baker, right? In the same way, if uh, especially with my body is a lot more important to me than my car. I'm going to take it to a specialist that specializes in nutrition, right? Okay, here's another thing that's a little tricky. So when I was starting out, I kind of just thought like everyone that has like an MD next to their name knows about nutrition, and unfortunately, it's not the case. If they're like an MD in nutrition, then yeah. But check this out. It's really unfortunate. So many medical students receive inadequate nutrition training, and this is from the Association of American Medical Colleges. Their conclusion is the amount of nutrition education that medical students receive continues to be inadequate, and they say like the average that they training that they'll receive is about 22.3 hours, and that's just really sad, especially since there seems to be a lot of great research out there on how diet can prevent um, or can help prevent disease. You know, so just keep that in mind. If a nephrologist or uh, the doctors that they don't specialize in nutrition, and they may write books on nutrition, and maybe they do, maybe they have read nutrition and they know their stuff, but just keep in mind that they just because they have the MD next to their name doesn't mean they know about nutrition. Oh, and one thing I want to say too is like I think medical doctors have they have their their patient's best interest in mind, and they want to do the best that they can. So I'm not trying to um, downplay them, but do keep in mind that you'd probably want to be listening to the specialist in nutrition versus a doctor who does not have that nutrition training. And with that said, every once in a while it's good. So there's sort of prejudices sometimes that can come up when learning about this nutrition stuff. Some people want to do low fat or keto diets or vegan, high carb diets and all this stuff. Um, and it's really fun and like fascinating to learn about like the different arguments. But sometimes I've found that just going with one one view and being very like um, just not having a little bit of doubt can actually harmed me at least. Like for one period, I went through this. I was into this really restrictive diet, only to find out that its evidence was flawed, and then I abandoned it. But for a while, I was limiting my food pretty substantially. So from time to time, I find it's a good practice to read stuff that disagrees with your views. So, for instance, like I've read books that say like, oh, eating meat is great or it's very healthy. But I mean, ideally, I would be reading people in the field of nutrition who are saying this, right? Not just like anyone. So, yes, from time to time, I found that very helpful. And here's like a very cool metaphor for that, and it comes from a guy named Thich Nhat Hanh. He's like a Buddhist monk. Um, so he has like a little story. So imagine there's like a father and a son. The son goes off to battle, and he's just gone for years, and he doesn't come back in years, and the father just thinks he's dead, right? So, but then the son comes back, but the father just won't will not accept that the man is his son. He's like, nope, my son is dead. Like I'm certain. So the takeaway is, it's always good to have like a little bit of, doubt, have like a little flexibility in your views. Be willing to like look at the other side, because it might actually benefit you to take a look at views that um, kind of go against your own. It's hard, but I think it can pay off. For instance, so there's a lady named Marion Nessel. She's I think she has a master's in public health, and she thinks that, or at least at some point thought that, having a plant-based diet is great, and also throwing fish in there is great. You know, so and I think Dr. Greger would probably disagree with her. So just an example of someone you could read who's maybe a little bit on a different side of the fence, but is also very qualified in the field of nutrition. All right, so how hard is it to go vegan? Because maybe the way I've painted it kind of makes it sound a little bit tricky, right? Because you're not going to be eating the same foods, and what if you want to go out with your friends and enjoy a restaurant or something? Well, it's a lot easier when you're in a big city like this over here on the left. You're going to have tons of different restaurants, especially in LA and San Francisco, bigger cities. They're most likely going to have options. And even if there isn't like a dedicated vegan restaurant, you'll have like Indian restaurants, Mediterranean food restaurants, Chinese, Japanese. It'll have options, right? But over here on the right, if you're in like a rural area, good luck. Here in San Ynez Valley where I live, uh, I don't know of any dedicated vegan restaurants. Um, that said, there are lots of vegan options at the restaurants that aren't vegan, so that's nice. But it is a little bit harder to find things on menus when you're in these rural areas. And one thing I just want to go over: when I first became vegan, the thing I noticed is like I would eat way more food than I did when I was vegetarian, especially when I was like an omnivore, and it was okay. But I thought there was something wrong, and it really like stressed me out. But I'm gonna explain why it was okay for me. So in general, plant food has less calories. So take this drumstick here. This is all from this tool called Chronometer. So this is a chicken drumstick, and it's 123 calories. To get that same amount of calories, you'd have to eat 2 cups at least of broccoli, probably 2.5 cups. That's a lot of broccoli. Or 3 cups, about 3 cups of kale, right? So now you can kind of see that, yeah, I was eating more because I should be eating more, right? I needed those calories, and I just have to eat more plant food to get to like these kind of higher calorie kind of food, right? And the reason it's higher in calories is typically because of the fat. The fat has a lot more calories than like, protein and carb. So just something to keep in mind. So if you're starting to eat a vegan diet, you'll probably be eating more, most likely. But that's okay. And here's a nice little visual of what I'm trying to say. So here is a plate, and there are different foods on it, and each of these different foods is 100 calories. So that's 100 calories of broccoli, 100 calories of strawberries, and the chicken's over here, 100 calories, 100 calories of candy, cheese, chips, bread, and oil, right? And what's going to fill you up the most, right? Look at all that broccoli. Like, good luck even finishing that. It's a lot. So it just the point is, you'll probably be eating more like volume of food on a vegan diet, which actually can be kind of nice for having regular bowel movements. But TMI. Okay, so is it safe? Is it safe to go vegan? Because that was my big concern when I was reading all the nutrition stuff in Croatia. I have some great news for you. Okay, so the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, it claims to be the largest organization of nutritionists and dietetic practitioners in the world. 112,000 of them, actually. And this is what they say about a vegan diet. And I'm pretty sure they are the biggest. That's like, sounds like a pretty big number of practitioners. So Appropriately planned vegetarian, including vegan diets are healthful, nutritionally adequate, and may provide health benefits for the prevention and treatment of certain diseases. These diets are appropriate for all stages of the life cycle, including pregnancy, lactation, infancy, childhood, adolescence, older adulthood, and for athletes. And it actually has some very strong claims here. Plant-based diets are more environmentally sustainable than diets rich in animal products because they use fewer natural resources and are associated with much less environmental damage. Vegetarians and vegans are at a reduced risk of certain health conditions, including ischemic heart disease. What I was mentioning before with that heart disease thing. Oh, pardon me. Type 2, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, certain types of cancer, and obesity. Whoa. Low intake of saturated fat. There's a saturated fat thing again, and higher intakes of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, soy products, nuts, and seeds are characteristics of vegetarian and vegan diets that produce lower total and low density. So it's talking about cholesterol here, and better serum glucose control. These factors contribute to reduction of chronic disease. Vegans need reliable sources of vitamin B12, such as fortified foods or supplements. I do supplement with B12. There's videos that Dr. Greger posts about B12. And I would highly recommend taking B12 if you're a vegan. I think it's very dangerous not to. Okay, so what about protein? So a lot of people are worried if they go vegan, like, what am I going to get my protein, right? Okay, so the same guys and girls from the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics website. As meat has become synonymous with protein, this is them talking, many people struggle to identify non-meat sources of this essential nutrient. Despite this, adequate protein can easily be attained without meat through a well-planned and varied diet. Okay, so you can do it. That's what they're saying, right? And I'll show you an example of how you can do it. Don't worry. But okay, so even though you can do it, how do you make sure you and your loved ones are getting enough nutrients, right? It's like, well, yeah, like as an adult, I can get the nutrients, but what about like little kids or babies or pregnant women? Like, what about all that stuff? Okay, don't listen to me. Get a pro, right? Just get a dietitian, especially if it's more complex kind of situations with pregnant women and infants, that kind of stuff. Like, don't take a chance on it. Just get a pro. So here's a few that seem very reliable. So we got Visanto Melina, Brenda Davis, Juliana Hever. I've checked, and they all appear to be registered dietitians. And I believe these two up here have written several books on diet. So I think one's called Vegan for Life. I think that was written by Brenda Davis here. Great. So you might be wondering, okay, so you're saying this vegan diet's safe, but where's the proof, yo? Like, show me some people who are vegan and like they're okay, right? So here's a couple who are vegan from birth. Jahina Malik on the left, she's a bodybuilder, and Serena is, I think, a blogger. I can't remember, but she has like a YouTube channel on growing up vegan. So two people vegan from birth. So this isn't proof that oh, it's safe because there's two, but I'll show you in a just going off their earlier post from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. They say it's safe, so I'm kind of leaning more on that. So, but here's just two examples, right? What about old people? Like, am I gonna die younger on a vegan diet? Like, what's gonna happen? Apparently, vegans. There are vegans that do live pretty old. So there's this Adventist vegetarian slash vegan group. They in this study, let's see, the Adventist men lived 6.2 years longer than non-Adventist men, and then the women lived about 3.7 years longer than everybody else. So like these people just generally tend to live longer than the average population in the U.S. Right? So yeah, you can live to pretty old. And in fact, there's even one lady who lived to 109, named Laureen Dinwiddie. So it's an example of some younger people and some really old people who are vegan. So that's pretty promising. Okay, so I've told you that we want to plan a well planned vegan diet, but how do we create a well planned vegan diet? How do I know I'm getting all the nutrients? The answer is Chronometer. Chronometer is a free app, and you can go to chronometer.com to get it. Here's kind of what it looks like. And the way you use it is you plug in the food that you can create your own custom meal. So you can call it, for me, I do oatmeal in the morning, but it's like oatmeal plus like all kinds of fruit and flaxseed and all kinds of good, amazing things. So you can kind of create a meal, and then in your diary, you just say like, okay, I had this meal today, and then it'll show you all the nutrient values for that meal. And then you can keep adding meals until all of these turn green and you want them to turn green. So it's pretty simple to the concept of using it. And this is where you can go to get it, chronometer.com. You just sign up there. And maybe let me just show you real quick, chronometer.com. Here we go. Oh, wow, you might even be able to see my face this time. Okay, great. So here I am in my diary, and I have two meals here. I've got bean and beef taco dinner, and an easy oatmeal breakfast. One is about 400, the other one's about 500 calories. And if we scroll down here, we get a breakdown of everything, all the vitamins and minerals. And check out the proteins here. Like I've almost got all the protein I need for the day. And the protein requirements, it's dependent on, I think weight and some other things. But you just enter your weight when you create your account, and then it should kind of automatically tell you how much protein you need. And let me just show you an example of adding a food. I'll just go here to food. And there's some custom foods that I made. So we'll do the Indonesian tempeh with peanut sauce. We'll do that one. And then I'll just say add to diary. So now I've just added another meal, right? And now, well, now my protein is maxed out. And then there's some things, I could use a little bit more of over here. Now the second question is, I'm going to jump out of Chronometer. I think you kind of get the idea of Chronometer, how it works. But there's a thing. So you'll notice, okay, like I'm missing vitamin D, or there's some, let's see, potassium that I could use. How would you know what veggies to go to get that? And this is where the next tool I'm going to show you comes into play. It is called My Food Data Nutrient Tracking Tool. So what you do is you take that thing, it's like potassium or protein or whatever, you plug it into here, and then you search. Oops, sorry. Oh no. Okay. Okay, yeah, and then you search it. So that's the idea. And the website to get there is right here. Tools, myfooddata.com, nutrient ranking tool. Let me just see if it'll open up here. Yeah, perfect. I want to just show you really quick how it works. So nutrients to rank. I click here, and here's all kinds. So what was it last? It was potassium, I believe. Let's check that. Potassium. Right. Boom. Click it, apply. Okay, now we're looking for potassium. Now it's going to ask, okay, what kind of foods do you want to get that potassium from? I could say all food groups, but I want to do the vegan thing. So let's do beans and lentils, fruits, grains, nuts and seeds, vegetables, spices and herbs. Like you're not going to eat pounds of spices, but let's put that there. And then it should show in descending order. Cooked beet greens, okay, adzuki beans are really high. And let's go with 100 grams. So this is going to say how many micrograms of potassium per 100 grams of this food. Parsley, dried chervil, sun-dried tomatoes apparently have a lot of potassium. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea here, so we can move on. Don't want to bore you. All right, so that was the nutrient ranking tool, very handy. Okay, and here's what a day of eating vegan could look like. So in the morning, I typically have an oatmeal breakfast. I find it is a great way to start the day, and it has like it takes off a lot of boxes, health boxes for me. Okay. And then the next one, Indonesian tempeh with peanut sauce, just sounds absolutely delicious. And then bean and beef taco dinner. And VFL means vegan for life. These are all meals that are in that book, which will be linked in the PDF that you can have. And then here's like a couple desserts. So we got, well, just one dessert actually. So it's just apple and peanut butter, which is pretty good, I think. Or it could be almond butter. I kind of prefer almond butter. But here's the protein. And I believe, if I remember right, that this was for like a 200-pound person. So that's why it's 84 grams. For me, I think I'm somewhere around 50 or 60 grams of protein per day. So yeah, these meals ticked off all like the protein boxes if that was something you're concerned about. All right, so this talk is about taste, right? You don't want to sacrifice taste on a vegan diet. So here are images of actual vegan meals that you can make, and I have links to all of them on how you can make them. So we're gonna start with like the classic like American kind of meals, like all the American meals basically that came to my mind, right? So we got hamburgers. This one on the right is actually an In-N-Out inspired one. This one on the left looks delicious. I'm not sure what kind that is. We got hot dogs, pizza, French fries, ribs. This is all vegan. This is all plant-based stuff. Buffalo wings, sausage, bacon, scrambled eggs, pancakes, cinnamon rolls. Oh, that looks delicious. Roast beef sandwich, BLT sandwich, Rocky Road ice cream, blueberry pie, chocolate cake, chocolate chip cookies, brownies. Okay, you might be thinking those dishes look delicious, but I'm no cook. How am I supposed to cook all that? Don't worry. There are vegan online cooking courses that you can take, and I actually took one of them. Forks Over Knives cooking course is a great one. It's affordable. Ruby and this other one, I have not taken them, but they also look good. Ruby has some vegan cooking courses. Food Future Institute cooking course is if you want to be like super gourmet and like open up a restaurant, this is going to be like high end kind of training. So I would start with the Forks Over Knives or this Ruby one, and then graduate to this other one if you really want to take it to the next level. Okay, but how do you make all that stuff? It looks delicious, and I kind of want to eat some dessert right now. So here are my top three choices. I have like a lot of other recommendations for you in the PDF, but these are the ones that I go to on a consistent basis. The Minimalist Baker has like a lot of vegan stuff. Some of it isn't vegan, so just so you know. Pick Up Lime's totally vegan, and she's a nutritionist if I'm not mistaken. Minimalist Baker has wonderful things, and what's so great about her is her meals are minimalist. Like there's not a ton of ingredients, so it doesn't take forever to make what she has. Rainbow Plant Life has very detailed information on how to do her recipes, and she cares a lot about the flavor and everything. So, and they all do. They all care a lot about the flavor, the texture. So if you're looking for really tasty meals, like you're not going to be disappointed here. Great. So what if you don't want to cook, right? Not everyone likes to cook. So don't worry, I got you covered. So what you can do is you can get done for you vegan food, aka meals delivered to your house. Here's 5 that I think look promising. So there's Leafside, Sprinly. This is Sprinly on the left. They've come up in my Facebook feed, so I thought I'd put them on here. There's Green Chef, Purple Carrot, and Vistro. So these are all food companies. You don't have to cook anything. You just call them up, tell them what kind of food you want, and they'll deliver it right to your door. Presto, you're vegan and you barely lifted a finger. Okay. Now, if you're if you're still not satisfied with those meals, you can just have a personal chef, but it's going to be expensive. Okay, they're from Santa Barbara. I didn't find any in Santa Ynez Valley, unfortunately. If someone knows, let me know. But here's a few from Santa Barbara. Chef Coco. This is Chef Coco on the left. Chef Eddie, and then there's Take a Chef, and this is where they have like kind of a whole directory of private chefs that you could choose from. So there's 3. Okay, that's all great, Andrew. But what if I want to eat out with my friends? Is it going to suck? Am I going to find stuff? Well, I got some good news for you. If you're in the San Ynez Valley, I've made a list of all the restaurants or all the restaurants I could find and what they offer, what vegan options they offer. So you just got to hit me up, okay? But what if you're not in San Ynez Valley? Here's what you do. You use Google Map. I would say Google Map first because well, there's Google Map and then there's also this app called Happy Cow. So first let me show you how to do the Google Map thing. Okay. So you'll probably be on your phone, but let's just do it here because it's easy. Maps.google.com. Let's say you're in, my heart kind of goes out to Lisbon, Portugal, because I tend to live there frequently. So let's say you're in Lisbon and you want to find a meal. What would you do? You're traveling, right? And you want to be vegan. So this is Lisbon. And we will say, first we'll just do vegan restaurant. Make it easy on the first search. What happens? Okay, so look, you've already got vegan restaurants that are popping up. Now, what you can do is, let's say you're not finding those. You're kind of more in a rural area. What you can do is just say, like, what food do you want to eat right now? What do you like? Do you like Chinese? Do you like Japanese, Ethiopian, sushi, right? So let's just try, Indian restaurant. And right now we don't know yet if these Indian restaurants have vegan options. So let's just pick this one here. So this Raj Indian and Kebab restaurant. Is it gonna open up for me? Perfect. Okay. Now here's the trick. You want to go to reviews. Reviews. You don't need to ask community anything. It's a little hard to find. So you got to find this little search circle, and then you want to type in the word vegan. And that right there, that's the answer. There's probably not vegan options at that restaurant. So let's try a different one. Let's try the Indian fusion one. Because if there were vegan options, then there's probably a review left by somebody about that. So we're going to come down again to the search. And you can do the same thing on your phone, guys and girls. Type vegan. But I should mention, though, that even if it doesn't come up with anything here, there still could be an option. Like, you just check the menu. Usually Indian restaurants have vegan options. Okay, not that one doesn't. We're going to try Desi Masala. Desi Masala. Sounds delicious. Where is it? There we go. So let me go. Vegan. Desi Masala, what do you got? Oh yeah, you got something. My husband and I are vegans, but there were plenty of choices for both meat eaters, along with those following a vegan diet. Hey, check that out. So this is actually what I would do when I was creating the San Ynez Valley vegan guide. I would just look in these reviews, and it tells you right away. So this restaurant here, Desi Masala, is safe for you to go to. Awesome. Okay, but let's try the Happy Cow thing now. So I'm going to go to Happy Cow. I bought a Happy Cow, the Happy Cow app. It was cheap. It was like $6. It's like $6 for life or something. Let's say you're in Lisbon, though, and you want to find some vegan restaurants. My internet's a little bit slow. Sorry, Lisbon. Let's check it out. Great. It has this really cool little map that it had. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so this is Lisbon. And the green, that means it's like totally vegan. The red means it has vegan options. Pretty sure. Pretty sure it means has vegan options. So there you go. Like right there, there's one, two. If you move around, it'll probably show you some more. Easy as that. Yeah, let's just click on one, see what happens. Vegan a party. Vegan gonna throw a party. Okay, there it is. Some reviews. Yep, there you go. Vegan restaurant. Happy Cow, I'm pretty sure works in most countries, so definitely a good app to have if you're on this diet. Okay, so I think that's a good explanation of Google Maps and Happy Cow. Now, let me just also repeat, if I didn't already, that if you're going to be vegan when you're going abroad, it's a lot easier to do in bigger cities. Indian and Mediterranean restaurants tend to have more options, I find. Use Google and Happy Cow. And also, uh, if you're kind of more in rural areas where it's harder to find restaurants that offer meals that are vegan, you might want to cook. So if you're getting an Airbnb, check out Airbnbs with kitchens, definitely. And let's say you go somewhere and you find some delicious meal. It's not vegan though, but you want to make it vegan. How would you do it? How would you find a vegan alternative for something so niche as that? Well, I figured it out, and it's actually pretty simple. What you got to do is you got to search for the vegan alternative in their language on YouTube. So there's this Portuguese dish called bacalhau. It's a codfish dish. And I thought, well, how cool would it be to make it vegan? But how do I find a vegan recipe for that? So you type in receita de bacalhau vegano, which translated means vegan bacalhau recipe. And the result is sem bacalhau com natas. So it means without bacalhau and cream, vegan. So it's like bacalhau without the codfish. So there you go. All right, so let's check out some famous vegans, right? Is it just Andrew, this weird guy, who's vegan? Or maybe there's some other people that are more normal that are vegan. Let's see. So Joaquin Phoenix from Gladiator. So actually, let me preface this by saying uh, I I found these people and it said online that they're vegan. Maybe they're not anymore, but this is just what I found. Okay, Joaquin Phoenix, Matthew Scully, Republican speechwriter for George Bush, vegan. Natalie Portman from Star Wars. will.i.am from Black Eyed Peas. BEP, yeah, you know me. Woody Harrelson from The Hunger Games. Moby, musician. Spidey, it's Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, vegan. Grant Cardone, okay, I don't know if he's still vegan, but he was for a little bit. He watched Game Changers and he became vegan for a while. I don't know if he still is, but I think he's a billionaire or like kind of close to it. Patrick Baboumian, really strong guy. He's the one in the middle. Germany's Strongest Man, 2011. David Carter, former NFL Dallas Cowboys football player. James Wilkes, this is a MMA fighter. He's just really good at all things martial arts. Lawrence Oakley, boxer. Stevie Wonder, vegan. All right, this is bonus stuff. I think this is pretty fascinating. So, vegans from major world religions, right? Is this vegan thing is it just a bunch of liberals that do this? Is it like is it just them? No, no, no. It's like pretty. Every religion I was looking at, they got vegans. So let's take a look. Start with Christianity because I think that's probably the most predominant religion here in the U.S. So we got Franklin Graham, son of Billy Graham, famous preacher. And this is Franklin Graham talking. He posted up on Facebook. So Franklin, he went vegan because he's trying to lose weight. And he says, remember in the Bible, Daniel went on a complete vegetable diet, and after 10 days, his appearance was better than the others who hadn't. So he went vegan for trying to lose weight. And it turns out there are vegan pastors out there and actually vegan churches. So and PETA has a list of them, and that list can be found on their their domain, I guess, called lambs something or other. So if you just type in like PETA lambs, you should find it. Kind of interesting. Okay, and then we have for Catholics, we got Pope Francis. He's not vegan, but he promotes consuming less meat. So there's an urgent need to reduce the consumption not only of fossil fuels, but also of so many superfluous things. This is him talking. In certain areas of the world, too, it would be appropriate to consume less meat. This too can help save the environment. So he approaches it from an environmental standpoint. From Buddhism, you got Thich Nhat Hanh. I love this guy. He's got a lot of cool stories. It's really like it's sort of like having like a warm cup of tea listening to him. You know, it's really comforting. Judaism, we got the Jewish Veg. So it's a Jewish vegan group. You can check them out. They have their own website. So if you just type in the Jewish Veg in Google, you should find them. Islam, this lady, she's a vegan, Nina Amidao. For Mormonism, you got Rachel Howard. She has a post here on Medium called Vegan Mormons. Hinduism, you got a whole Hindu vegan forum. It's a Facebook group. For Sikhs, Sikhism, you got another Facebook group. Okay, so the thing you've all been waiting for, right? I love pomegranate, and this might be just some stupid thing that you're like, oh come on, just get on with it. But you know, de-seeding a pomegranate if you don't know how is really painful, and then you just stop eating them because it just takes too much time. Don't worry. Here's what you do. You're gonna cut that baby in half, right? And you want to cut it along the equator of the pomegranate, so right in half. And then you kind of loosen up each part, like each half, you know, loosen it up a little bit, the sides. And then what you do is you turn it over in your hand and make sure there's a bowl below you to collect all the A-rolls or whatever you call it, like the seeds. And then you take a wooden spoon or whatever spoon you got, you start hitting the back of the pomegranate, and then all the seeds will pour out of your hand into the container, and it's amazing. It works so quickly, right? Maybe I'll film a little video of me doing it, but definitely when I learned how to do this, it was so empowering. And yeah. Okay, so let's say you want to learn more about a vegan diet, because right, it sounds pretty cool. So here's some nutritional. I have a PDF with all this stuff. All the stuff I've been telling you. There's links to all the studies and everything. So and all the nutritional science stuff on kids, on adults, on diabetics, people with gut problems. It's got a lot of cool stuff. So just hit me up for that. Great. And what do you want to do next? Well, I would find a group to kind of help you with your questions, because you're going to have a lot of questions starting out, and that's fine. So getting a Facebook group really helps, or just any kind of group you like in person, especially. But if you don't have any friends around you that are vegan, Facebook groups are great, and there's tons of them in here, like 28,000, 12,000. So they've all been there, and they'll most likely have answers to your questions that are really good. When I've left questions in both of these groups, I've gotten outstanding answers. So yeah, definitely good. Simnett Nutrition, this guy is he has some videos on YouTube. He's a vegan bodybuilder, really great energy. So I love watching his videos just for the feel good aspect of it. And my last piece of advice is take it slow with this vegan thing, and because your body probably needs time to get used to the new food and the new volumes of this food. So, for example, if you just wanted to go cold turkey and eat like 5 bowls of lentils a day, you know, it might be really mean to your friends, right? You might have like super bad gas. So maybe just take it easy at first, you know, like start with like one meal, maybe breakfast, make that vegan, and just, you know, do that for a week or 2 weeks just so your body gets used to it. And then just kind of increase, you know, then do lunch and then do dinner. And then voila, you are vegan, right? And questions. And that is it, folks. I'm so happy that you stuck around. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. I'm happy to answer any questions. And good luck on your journey. Cheers. Bye.